Mars is often imagined as humanity's next great adventure, a red desert, a new world, a symbol of survival. But behind the dream of building cities on Mars is a question nobody can avoid. Who pays for it? Because the first Mars colony will not be built by explorers carrying backpacks and planting flags. It will be built by money, trillions of dollars, massive investments, government contracts, private corporations, and a race to control the most valuable real estate humanity has ever seen. The first people on Mars may not be pioneers searching for a new home. They may be employees of the most expensive industrial project in human history. Because owning Mars is not just about reaching another planet. It is about controlling resources, transportation, energy, and the first economy beyond Earth. And history has already shown us something important. Whenever humans discover a new frontier, the people who control the money systems often control the future. The oceans, the Americas, the oil fields, the internet, every major expansion in human history followed the same pattern. First came exploration, then came investment, then came ownership, and Mars may be the next chapter. But the real question is not, can humanity reach Mars? The real question is, who will become rich when humanity gets there? Because before the first city is built, someone has to build a machine that makes it possible. And that machine is incredibly expensive. A single launch into space today can cost tens of millions of dollars. A mission carrying humans to Mars will require transporting equipment, habitats, machines, food systems, fuel production technology, and life support systems across a distance that can reach more than 200 million kilometers. The problem is simple. Earth has everything humans need. Mars is almost nothing humans need. At least, not yet. Every kilogram sent from Earth to Mars comes with a price. And when the currency is weight, even a small mistake becomes extremely expensive. A bottle of water on Earth costs less than $1. On Mars, that same water could represent thousands of dollars in transportation costs, technology, and energy. The first Mars economy will not begin with luxury hotels or space tourism. It will begin with survival, air, water, food, energy, construction. The first businesses on Mars will not be selling entertainment. They will be selling the basic necessities of life. And whoever controls those necessities may control the entire colony. This is the same economic pattern that shaped human history. When European powers expanded across the world hundreds of years ago, they were not only searching for adventure, they were searching for resources, gold, spices, land, trade routes. The British Empire became powerful because it controlled global trade networks. The Dutch became wealthy because they controlled shipping and finance. The United States became an industrial giant because it controlled energy, manufacturing, and technology. Mars could follow the same economic logic. The first companies on Mars may not become powerful because they own the land. They may become powerful because they own the systems that make life possible. Imagine a Mars colony 50 years from now. 1,000 people live inside a giant underground habitat. The colony needs electricity. One company controls the nuclear reactors. It needs communication with Earth. Another company controls the satellite network. It needs transportation. Another company controls the spacecraft. It needs oxygen. Another company controls the machines extracting resources from a Martian soil. The colony exists because these systems exist, and whoever controls them has enormous economic power. The hidden truth about Mars is this: the first empire on another planet may not be built with armies. It may be built with contracts. But creating a Mars economy requires solving a massive financial problem. Who will pay? Governments? Private companies? Billionaires? Investors? The answer is probably all of them. Space exploration has always depended on government money. The first satellites, the first astronauts, the first lunar missions. They were funded because governments believed space represented strategic power. During the Cold War, the United States and Soviet Union spent billions competing for technological dominance. The famous race to the moon was not only about science, it was about political influence. The country that reached the moon first proved it had superior technology, engineering, and industrial power. Mars could become the next economic competition. But this time, private companies may play a much bigger role. Companies like SpaceX are developing reusable rockets because the biggest economic barrier to space is not reaching space once. It is making space transportation affordable. For decades, rockets were treated like disposable airplanes. Build one, launch once, throw it away. Imagine if every airplane was destroyed after one flight. Air travel would be impossible. Reusable rockets change the economics. They turn space from a government experiment into a possible transportation industry. And that changes everything. Because every new economy begins with cheaper transportation. Ships created global trade. Railroads connected continents. Airplanes connected countries. Cheap rockets could connect planets. But transportation is only the beginning. The next question is resources. Mars contains valuable materials. Water ice, carbon dioxide, minerals, metals. Water is especially important because water is not just something humans drink. Water can be separated into hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen can become rocket fuel. Oxygen can support human life. A colony that can produce its own fuel does not need constant shipments from Earth. That means water on Mars could become the equivalent of oil fields on Earth, a resource that creates economic power. Think about what oil did to the modern world. Countries with massive oil reserves gained enormous wealth and political influence. Entire industries were built around extracting, transporting, and selling energy. Mars may create a similar competition, not over oil, but over survival resources. The first valuable resource on Mars may not be gold. It may be water, because the most powerful resource is not always the rarest. It is the one everyone needs. But there's another economic challenge. Labor. Who will actually build Mars? Robots? Humans? A combination? Sending humans is expensive. A person requires food, water, oxygen, protection, and medical support. A machine requires electricity and maintenance. The first Mars economy will likely be heavily automated. Robots will mine resources. Machines will build structures. Artificial intelligence will manage systems. Humans will oversee, repair, and innovate. This creates another historical pattern. Every major economic revolution changes the value of human labor. The Industrial Revolution replaced many manual tasks with machines. The Digital Revolution replaced many information tasks with software. The Mars economy may replace dangerous physical work with robotics. The companies that control automation technology may have a huge advantage. But there is a darker economic question. Who actually owns Mars? Today, international space agreements generally prevent countries from claiming sovereignty over celestial bodies. No nation can simply plant a flag and legally declare, "This planet belongs to us." But ownership questions become complicated when private companies invest billions. If a company spends decades and billions developing a mine on Mars, who controls the profits? Who controls the resources? Who makes the rules? This is where economics becomes politics, because history shows that valuable resources create competition. The spice trade created naval empires. Oil created geopolitical conflicts. Rare minerals shaped modern technology, supply chains. Mars could create a new form of economic competition, not between countries fighting over borders, but between companies and governments fighting over influence. The first Mars colony may become the most expensive startup in human history. But investors will not spend trillions just for exploration. They will want returns. Money follows opportunity. And Mars may offer opportunities that do not exist on Earth. A new market, new technologies, new industries, a completely new economy. The The companies that survived the early years could become the equivalent of the first internet giants. Because the biggest fortunes in history were often created by controlling a new system. Railroads, oil, computers, the internet, artificial intelligence. Mars could create another economic revolution. But there's a question that cannot be ignored. What happens to the people who pay for it? The average person on Earth may never visit Mars. They may never live there, but they could still finance it. Government spending comes from taxpayers. Public research comes from national budgets. Infrastructure is often built using collective resources. Throughout history, ordinary people have often funded major expansions, while powerful companies capture the biggest rewards. The railroads transformed America, but many workers faced dangerous conditions. Colonial trade created wealth, but millions suffered under exploitation. Industrial growth created prosperity, but also inequality. Mars will not escape these economic realities. A new planet does not automatically create a fair society. It only creates a new environment where human decisions repeat. The biggest question about Mars may not be technological. It may be economic. Will Mars become a place where humanity creates a better system? Or will it repeat the same patterns of wealth and inequality that shaped Earth? Because the first Mars colony will reveal something important about us. Not just what we can build, but what kind of civilization we want to create. The story of Mars is often told as a story about rockets. But rockets are only the beginning. The real engine behind Mars will be money, investment, resources, trade, ownership, power. The first people to reach Mars may plant a flag, but the people who control the economy may shape its future. Because every new frontier in human history has followed one rule: explorers discover new worlds. But economic systems decide who controls them. And when humanity finally steps onto Mars, the greatest battle may not be against distance, radiation, or the harsh environment. It may be the oldest battle of all, the battle over who owns the future.